Saturday night edition, folks. Late night on campus coming to you directly after these Elite Eight games. A lot of stuff to talk about after some of these, the way they ended. Surprisingly some way, not surprisingly in other ways, but also a big day tomorrow as some more meat comes down the line, so to speak, when you're going to have South Carolina, Florida, and also Kentucky and North Carolina. But let's get to the games of the day today, big man. I'll let you start it off first. I know you had a premium play on the early Elite Eight game, Gonzaga versus Xavier, 83-59 final. Explain how that one played out and what were your thoughts behind your play.
What's up, Donnie? Well, do I even get to say hello to you, for God's sakes?
We are getting right into the meat and potatoes of the show.
I mean, my God, I don't even get to say hello. Yeah, look, Gonzaga was, for me, the side in this game for a multitude of different reasons. The first of which was, I thought X would stop at some point. X didn't mark the spot tonight. I looked at Gonzaga and I said to myself, this is an elite defensive team. And if you look at the way Xavier plays the game, their game is imperatively about getting into the paint, getting to the rim, a lot of putbacks, that kind of thing. Gonzaga is the best team in the country at the rim, defending the rim. Xavier, if you look at their stats, 23rd in the country in field goal rate, an attempt around the rim. It just didn't really fit for me. I didn't think Xavier was a great matchup against Gonzaga. And I thought against that zone, Gonzaga would really start to get their legs shooting the basketball. We saw tonight 13 threes. They were just a better team tonight. I was waiting for that complete game from this team. I figured they'd push 80. I got to be honest, Tony, I didn't see Xavier scoring 70. For me, that was enough. I saw this as an easy win for Gonzaga. I thought they would finally put a full game together, and I knew defensively Xavier just wouldn't stand this game.
How about a tale of two halves, too? Coming out firing both sides of the ball, Gonzaga and Xavier. That defense clamped down in the second half. What looked to be an easy total to hit at 145. Still came right down to the wire. Late three ball could have changed some of that. But again, you're not going to win too many over-unders if you're only going to get somewhere in the mid-50s in the second half. So Xavier's defense, which long ballyhooed throughout the season, in some rankings, #1 overall, really showed their mettle in the second half. And they put away a Xavier team that they matched up very well with, didn't mess around, used that surge at the end of the first half, continued it right off the bat in the first 5 minutes of the second half, and never looked back to that one. Comfortable. Let's talk about Mark Few in that one too, big man.
Yeah, I mean, to me, he's the best coach in the country, honestly. I don't think there's a guy that has done more for a program, done more for a city, done more for a school than Mark Few has done. We have to remember, 19 years ago, Gonzaga was unknown, virtually unknown. No one knew who they were. They didn't have that pedigree of a basketball school. They didn't have Kentucky or Kansas or Duke behind them. They had no one. This guy came in from nowhere. No one ever heard of him. And he's resurrected this team to a powerhouse year after year. They made the March Madness tournament 16 years in a row. I mean, that's pretty astounding. And I want to point out, this is why West Coast basketball needs to get some love. Look at the first two teams, Donnie, in the Final Four. The West Coast. West Coast needs to get its love. I'm happy to finally see Mark Few get his due. To me, he's the best coach in the country. I know we can say people are great recruiters. Mark Few does it with nothing. He brings in transfers. He gets kids to stay 3-4 years. This is how a program is built, and I'm happy he finally gets the exposure that he really deserves.
Yeah, and tonight's Late Night on Campus, once again, brought to you by uwager.eu. Check out sbrodds.com as well for all your odds needs, changing updates. You want to get the latest on the totals. You want to get the latest on the sides of games. Check them out. It's certainly where it is. And once again, powered by uwager.eu for the entire March Madness. I'm your host tonight, Donnie Rightside. He is my man, the big man on campus. A proper introduction for us tonight, but I know he's living high on the horse today. With a nice win on that Gonzaga game. Also caught a little bit of high school basketball out there with Reading taking down a state title there. Talk about that atmosphere, man. I saw it on video, man. Looked like a huge arena, nice sellout crowd.
It was the biggest attendance for a state basketball game ever in the state of Pennsylvania. Yeah, look, Donnie, it was a great matchup. I've watched the kid Lonnie Walker kind of throughout his maturity and getting into Reading. And what I want to explain to the viewers is Reading, Pennsylvania is a tough town. I mean, it's one of the most dangerous cities in this state. And they really played for the city. And most of the city was at the game. I'm from nearby Lancaster, but I follow high school basketball around here, and it was a great atmosphere, Donnie. I mean, it was nice to see them. They haven't won a high school championship in a very long time. It was nice to see them win, and they played a team from out near Pittsburgh, and it was just nice to see. The solid crowd, great atmosphere, and they deserved it. They were great this year. And Lonnie heading to Miami, you'll see him. Larinaga was there; he was taking in the game.
Yes.
Yeah,
Nice.
yep. So, it was awesome. It was a great atmosphere, and I always love watching basketball live. But yeah, with Gonzaga, I'm not sure that there's anyone in this racket that has been more behind this team than me this year. I've tried to tell people all year, this team is real, this team is real, this team is real. And finally they get their thing. But Donnie, I want to say one thing about this game.
Yeah.
Nigel Williams-Goss really played well in this game. 23 points, hit some big threes. Not sure why he's calling me. We're on the show live here. Yeah, I don't know why he's calling me. Justin, we're on the show live. Why are you calling me? But Karnowski, 5 points, Don. He was in foul trouble most of the game. Zach Collins fouled out. So, they played well again without some of their better players playing well.
No, definitely interesting. I mean, I was just thoroughly impressed. And I didn't even have a premium play on any one of these games and just exhausted watching the games. Me and you all along have been riding Gonzaga. They're finally getting to do. And how about this, big man? Sports books are now putting out the favorite to win it all now is Gonzaga. Now, you might not think they're the best team overall, but the path is certainly cleared for them there, as opposed to, what Kentucky and Carolina still have to go into a game, and then you're going to have to face Oregon in the Final Four in that bracket there. Let's talk about advancing into the Final Four for Gonzaga and what it means to them, and also being favored most likely in their Final Four matchup.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be favored in the next game. I mean, whoever it is, whether it's Florida or South Carolina, they're going to be the favorite in that game. And I mean, you look at the last three teams left, whether it's UNC, Kentucky, or Oregon. Listen, I mean, what's the line in that game if it's Gonzaga? I mean, it's got to be near 2.5, 3 maybe?
It's got to be close if that is. I mean, you're probably going to get a nice little advantage if it's, let's just say UNC or Kentucky gets there, obviously. But yeah, it's not going to be any runaway, nothing over 5 points, maybe 3.5, you would say?
I just think
UNC?
And again, this would be really kind of a total upset if it happens. But again, if Gonzaga is beaten till they get to the title game, I would be really surprised. I think for college basketball, it's imperative that they do get to the title game, and they probably will. Again, they should be, I would guess, against Florida or South Carolina, they're at least a 6-point favorite, I would imagine, in that game. So we'll see, but it's nice to see them get to the Final Four. They deserve it.
Yeah, thanks for everybody joining on the message board tonight. I mean, this is an 11 o'clock start show for us on a Saturday night, so a lot of dedicated fans out there, which we love, and we love doing the content as well. Big man was out at the basketball game this afternoon, said, we got to put together a show. I'll be home around 11 o'clock. You know me, I'm old, so I procrastinate, and next thing you know, I already have retweets out there that we're doing the show, so here we are tonight.
Yeah, Donnie, I think it's important, again, that we continue the night content. Again, people want to talk. People are on Twitter anyway. It's nice to come together, kind of maybe look ahead to the next day and just kind of recap what went on. I had every reason to think I'd be home by, 10:45 or so, and I thought, you know what? Big night, busy night. Why not talk about what went on? Because, obviously both games weren't really that good, really, unless you had a wager on the winner. But there was a lot to talk about, and we'll get into it with our next game as well. But I do want to talk, Donnie, quickly before we do get into that final game about some things that went on in the afternoon here with these two CIT games.
Yes, go ahead.
Very nice performance by Furman today. I mentioned on the show earlier today, the roundtable, and even on yesterday's show, all 4 of these teams today were very good against the spread. Obviously, with Campbell, very limited against the spread numbers. But this Furman team, Donnie, 16-8 on the year against the spread, now 17-8. They really kind of handled Campbell. A really nice season for Campbell comes to an end. And Furman is a team that, they've been cashing for bettors all year.
Yeah, no, I mean, and the one thing I know you were a big fan of Campbell throughout the year, just the way they were playing, just ran. Sometimes you just, the luck runs out. You saw the record throughout the year. They sort of came back to earth today. Furman's a pretty good ball club, 79-64. I don't even think the spread was really in doubt for much of the game in that one. So credit to them for going on the road and picking up a nice W in that one. I know you followed that conference all year long, and a lot of good players come out of there. But, sometimes it's going to run out. -6, it closed at 141. It looks like they hit both the total and the favorite did win in that game. So interesting.
The game went way over. It was at actually didn't go way over, but it was 141.
Mm-hmm.
So that game went over, and you really kind of look at the box score and you say to yourself, I mean, in the CIT with the rules the way they are, how does Campbell only shoot 7 free throws?
Yeah,
I mean, kind of crazy. But Chris Clemens did his thing, 29. But the problem for Campbell is, and this has been Campbell's thing all year, they really don't have anyone else other than Chris Clemens. So, they ran into a better team today and from a slightly better conference to get the job done. The other game today, a ugly game. If you liked offense, this was not the game for you. But, I give Drew Martin some credit. He mentioned the under in this game today on the roundtable. We mentioned we like St. Peter's here. I did consider St. Peter's as a premium play. The one concern I had, Donnie, was I noticed in the attendance, I looked at the attendance of all these home teams for this tournament, and I've noticed Texas State had a wide margin as far as attendance was concerned. I thought they'd really come out today out in San Marcos, and they definitely did. It was a really nice crowd, but this was an ugly game, a defensive struggle, and Peacock come away with it. They move on to the semifinals.
Yeah, I mean, talk about, again, St. Peter's, coming out of the Metro Atlantic, which we've been following all year long. What a road warrior team that is. I mean, not only just winning on the road, but covering and doing it in grand style. I mean, if you looked at this game early on, it was Texas State in a blowout. Texas State has I believe maybe 23. Somebody's out on the message board probably has a better feel. 23-6 or 23-7, something like that, like right off of the bat.
It opened up 23-6, Texas State. And it, then St. Peter's just started figuring out a score. They go on a 14-0 run, get it back to 23-20, somehow tie it with a Chaz Peterson 3 late in the half, and kind of really impressive. I mean, that's impressive to, again, with a score of only 93 points to begin with. You score 14 unanswered. Pretty impressive to not only come back but to win the game decently. I mean, they led the whole second half. So yeah, impressive stuff there. Quadir Welton didn't even really have that good a game, and they got a nice performance off the bench from Baker. But a nice game. St. Peter's continues to cover. Keep in mind, guys, 14-1 now against the spread on the road.
That's
St.
amazing.
Peter's Peacocks. Yeah, make sure you keep a lookout for them. There are a few games left in that conference, so take a look out to it. But Donnie, let's get into the final game tonight. A game we just saw here on national television, and a lot to talk about in this one. Oregon handles the Kansas Jayhawks 74-60 in a game that they shot 51% in. They hit 11 threes. Listen, I mean, I think we have to point out, again, Chris Boucher hasn't played for some time. But Jordan Bell, I mean, I didn't understand kind of the people that were saying, well, they don't have any chance now that Boucher's out. We have to remember, Jordan Bell won the Defensive Player of the Year in the Pac-12. 8 blocks tonight, Donnie. Landon Lucas.
Almost a triple-double.
I mean, what a brutal player he is, Landon Lucas. I mean, just so soft. I mean, just he was really the issue for them all year. I mean, they just didn't have any size. That kind of hurt them tonight. He was brutal. 9 points. Didn't really play well at all. Couldn't rebound the basketball. Jordan Bell, fantastic tonight.
Yeah, which makes it kind of interesting. If you take it back to the previous game with Purdue, Purdue had the size advantage to abuse Kansas down low, but the Kansas guards played so well, it sort of nullified that. But it's still kind of amusing how the way to put Purdue away when Purdue's strength is basically down low. When you saw today, a 4-guard type offense with Jordan Bell down low. And if you saw that game, forget about the block shots you had. How many times did you see Kansas drive the paint and completely, with the reverse layup, opposite side of the rim, coming up short on layups, firing balls off the backboard? Just the anticipation of Bell coming out of nowhere just completely disrupted Kansas's game down low today.
Yeah, I mean, they were really good defensively in the, again, I didn't watch the whole game. I was driving and all sorts of other things, but, I didn't see the game for the most part. But again, I mean, from looking at it on the phone, I mean, all I saw was, Kansas kind of just didn't really have any. They never really were in the game. I mean, other than, late in the game, I think they got it to 6. But you look at Tyler Dorsey, Donnie, 7 straight games of 20 or more points. He is coming in front of our eyes here as really the leader of this team. I mean, Dylan Brooks is clearly the glue for them. But this sophomore guard has just been really fantastic in games that they really need him to be in. But, I think the unsung hero tonight was Oregon's defense. I mean, you hold Kansas to 35%. You hold them to 20% from 3. Big numbers here, Donnie. Josh Jackson and Devontae Graham, 13 points combined. Graham had 3 points. He was 0 for 7 from the floor, 0 for 6 from 3. All of his points came from the foul line. A no-show tonight. Like last night we saw from Lonzo Ball. What's the story with these young kids and not showing up in these big games?
Yeah, with the Oregon game, I know you're probably driving on your way back home, but a key I would say stretch was only about 45 seconds before the half. Oregon goes for a 2-for-1, fires up a 3 that bounced around the rim like 4 times straight up in the air and goes through. Kansas comes down and sort of runs clock, holding on. It's about 36 seconds to go for like that sort of last shot. They drive down the lane, get a turnover. Oregon comes back down, runs the clock down, and banks in a 3 to end the half. So you had back-to-back threes in about a 40-second time frame, which really hurt Kansas heading right to the half, took all the momentum away. And let's talk about something here. Oregon's offense down the stretch, and let's just use the last 10 minutes. They did everything possible. If you could write a book on how not to close the game out when you have a good team on the ropes, completely got away with it because Kansas's inability to hit any open shots or make a run at that point. Every once in a while, every 5th possession, Oregon would take a step-back 3 at the gun and hit it, which bailed them out, but really didn't. It was just amazing to watch because we've both watched late at night, and I know it turned out well. Florida over Wisconsin, they almost bit it and lost it, but Oregon just flatlining down the stretch, and it didn't even matter.
Yeah, I mean, again, we've seen it time and time again with these teams with big leads, just kind of, I don't know, just sitting on the lead and just kind of crumbling. But yeah, look at 6 points, 66-60. It got kind of interesting. There were 3 minutes left still in the game, and an odd comment by whoever the color guy was mentioning how much, if there'd be enough time. I don't know what that comment was all about. I mean, there was clearly enough time, but yeah, just couldn't hit a big shot really when they needed to late. And we mentioned Josh Jackson, Devontae Graham just weren't good enough. Great tweet from Ian Cameron, and this is so true, Donnie. That's why the NCAA tournament is what it is. Teams go from domination in multiple games to being dominated in one game. It's so true, and you really just have to remember at the end of the day, you're betting on 18, 19-year-old kids, some of which, I mean, did Josh Jackson look like he cared at all about this game tonight? I mean, he looked like he was in another county.
2 fouls within the first 2.5 minutes, big man. He was on the bench at about the 17:44 mark of the first half. And just, I mean, they put him back in with about, 8 or 7 minutes to go. Basically told him, don't get your 3rd foul. But you can't go out, even though the call was a little bit touchy there. Once you get your first foul in the first minute of the game, you have to be on point for at least the next 15 minutes, not really defending the rim and just saying, I can't get my 2nd foul. And that dummy goes right back and gets another foul on him.
Yeah, I don't know what his deal was. Did you guys coordinate the Eagles gear tonight? No. We're just both it's the only if you guys notice from the shows, it's pretty much the only thing I own is Eagles gear. So had Cavs +4. Can't believe I lost tonight. What do you mean you can't believe you lost tonight, Joe? I mean, I don't know how long you've been listening to this show, but I've made it clear. If you're betting on the Cavs, you have a problem. You shouldn't be betting on the Cavs. I don't know how many times I have to say it. If you bet on the Cavs, you really need to rethink the way you gamble on NBA. I'm not trying to be arrogant. I'm trying to help you.
Take a look at some NBA scores tonight, big man. Let me know what you thought about these games. Clippers 108-95 over Utah. Washington Wizards 127-115 on the road over Cleveland. Toronto 94, Dallas 86, and the San Antonio Spurs 106, the New York Knicks 98 as those games ended up tonight.
Yeah, there really wasn't a ton of steam plays for me. I actually didn't have anything in the NBA today. The only one that I had considered was a sharp move to the under in the Jazz Clippers game, the early game today. It ended up going over, so that would have worked in the system. But yeah, look, listen, I don't know how many times I had to say it. The Cavs are the most public team in the NBA. If someone is telling you, or you continue to bet on the Cavs, you need to get your fucking head examined. I'm sorry. There's no value in the Cavs anymore. They don't care about the season. And until the playoffs come, you just shouldn't be betting on them. But yeah, not a heavy day in NBA, not a lot going on. I kind of passed for the most part. But yeah, look, Oregon is in, and, it's nice to see because, a lot of people wrote this team off when Boucher went out. And it just goes to show you, Donnie, that having a bench in college basketball really isn't that big of a deal. You look at tonight, Big B, Williams, and Benson, very limited. It was the 5 for Oregon that won this game. So
what's interesting about this game too, watching it, you have, superior guard play on both sides. Both teams can get to the rim. Shot blocker on Oregon. And the refs, for the most part, Jeff, let them play. Other than Josh Jackson getting 2 dumb fouls early, nobody was really in trouble. Nobody's making stupid plays. They let the off-the-ball plays, they let you do what you needed to do. If there was some body contact, as long as you were straight up and vertical, they weren't calling it. A complete contrast from other games that we saw. It was nice to see that. I hope going forward it's going to be that way, especially tomorrow. We're going to get into it in just a few moments. North Carolina, Kentucky. Does it get any better in the NCAA tournament than when these two teams are going to match up tomorrow? Let them play. The flow is going to be amazing. If it's body-to-body contact, away from the ball, don't foul Bam Adebayo out early. Don't put 2 fouls on Malik Monk in the first 3 minutes. Let these kids play tomorrow and decide it on the court, please.
Some odd comments here on this chat box tonight, and I definitely want to get to all of them here. Eagles should have never got rid of cross-eyed Sam Bradford. Why is that? What?
I think he's busting our balls on that one, Jeff.
Yeah, well, if he's serious, I think you need to get your head examined. Couple more here. Getting Ford home, ? Joe, let me ask you something, okay? I think we're all readily aware that the Cavs are probably the best team in the East. Don't you think getting Ford home seems a little bit interesting?
Who was getting Ford home? I got Cleveland -6.
They were, but that's because LeBron was listed as probable and the line went crazy.
Did he play? He did play.
Originally, the line when he was questionable was 4. Joe, doesn't that look a little too good to be true? When you look at Las Vegas, does it look like they're struggling to make money?
They certainly ain't struggled today, I'll tell you that much.
They're probably the most public team bet right now in any sport.
Especially when you're looking at a short line, or what you would think would be a short line.
Yeah. I'd really like to know if you're serious about that Sam Bradford comment. I don't think he is. That rich guy's been on here before. He makes some
Matthew puts on, Sam Bradford's pads don't fit. It's not really his pads. We call him Sandy's sleeves in Philadelphia because he's the only dude. It's like, this is his jersey right here. This is his jersey length on his throwing arm right here.
Yeah. It's weird. I don't really ever see it. He's definitely like a deer in the headlights. I've always called him that. He definitely looks nuts. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what that comment's about, if it's true or not, but definitely off. But yeah. So other than college basketball tonight, really not a lot going on. How about Archie Miller, Donnie?
I love it. I love it, man. I haven't been able to root big man for Indiana in so long with the coaches that they run out there. And, I got a soft spot for Archie there. I'm going to root for Indiana. I think it's a great hire for him. I see a lot of things out there. I don't know if Twitter or, the public overvalues the position that Indiana actually is. Hey, we'll just make a phone call to Brad Stevens. He would love to come back here. Or, Alford, he'll leave UCLA in a beautiful market running a top 10 program. No problem. He'll come. Just make a phone call. And if Billy Donovan wants to come back, he'll definitely come back to Indiana. Who the hell wants to go to Indiana in the first place anyway? I thought it was a great hire for Archie Miller to go there.
Yeah. And again, I mean, definitely we all know Indiana blue blood program. I'd imagine he gets them going sooner than later. And look, at Dayton at this point, I mean, you had a lot of seniors move on. It's definitely a decent time to leave for sure. By the way, Donnie, LeVar Ball, who was not at the game last
He wasn't there last night?
Made a comment today. He's happy that Alford's going to stay. He knows my boys. I like his style, and I'm glad he's staying. Thanks, LeVar. Glad we heard your opinion from that. I'm sure we.
Yeah, what would have been great on that big man. Let's just say Alford went to Indiana. Can you imagine LeVar Ball? Like, I think he would expect that he would sit like with the Board of Regents at UCLA.
Oh no,
his influence would really like dictate who they would hire.
No, he would actually expect them to name him.
Yeah, you know what? That's a good point. Absolutely. Good point.
You know, he would probably have his name in the running at this point. We were just on the edge of our seat waiting for his comment after that. Donnie, what else do we have tonight?
Tonight, I mean, not much on the card. Even if you look, I know you're a hockey head too as well. The Flyers, again, just get out of here with their 1-0. It's every night they can't score more than 1, 2, or even, I think it was they scored more than 3 goals like 4 times or something like that in the last like 30 some odd games. So they're done. Just to recap, a lot of games tonight. So I
don't get the love affair with hockey personally. I don't get how people actually keep up with it and are interested in it all year.
How about this, love? How about this value line for you, big man? Arizona at Washington tonight. Washington was a cool -376. I wonder how many premium plays got sent out on that on the money line and then tweeted out that they were.
Well, yeah, it's actually funny. Minnesota Wild were a 330 favorite, lost to the Canucks. So yet again, another gigantic favorite in the NHL loses. There are people out there that did it, I'm sure. You also have another 320 favorite, the Oilers. They're up 2-1 on the Avalanche late in the second period.
The Oilers are favorites over somebody by 320?
Yes, the Oilers are actually pretty good. Yes, Connor McDavid. By the way, we have a question here. Someone asked, Dylan, did you ever have a problem balancing fandom and capping? No, I haven't.
Early on, I did. When I was growing up, I absolutely did.
When I was like still in like high school, I had a problem with that. Like I would always, bet on the Eagles and whatever. But yeah, I don't really care now. If there's a line that I like and it involves the Eagles, I'll bet against them. I mean, let me put it to you like this: I'm Albanian, right? Mm-hmm. We have a bitter dispute with Serbia. Like we don't like Serbians. I bet on Serbia on Friday in soccer. Doesn't mean anything to me. If I can make money on it, I'm going to make money on it.
Yep, absolutely.
It's that easy.
No, when I say I used to, like going to the game or I'm going to, I understand if you're doing that now just for a side play, but never before have I sat back in my chair and said, boy, I think the Giants are going to kick the shit out of the Eagles tonight. But you know what? I'm just going to bet the Eagles because I want to root for them. You have to take that completely out of the equation. Again, when you're younger, you learn, as it goes on that and sometimes just abstain. But if there's money to be made on the Eagles betting against them, I will certainly do that 100%.
By the way, Don, I want to ask you, have you ever seen that show on TV, Live PD?
Yes, I have seen Live PD, yes.
Do you actually believe that's real?
There has to be a legality on that, or is there a half hour or a 45-minute tape delay on it? There's no way. Can you go right? Is it even legal to put somebody on national TV like who's getting a DUI?
Well, the question I always had with cops was like, and it's similar to cops, but like with cops back in the day, the two things that I learned from cops is no cops are ever that nice to you. Like they could have tackled you, had to run down a ravine, break their leg, and they're still super nice to you on cops. Also, don't you ever think it's ironic that in the 30 years cops has been on the air, I've never heard an arrestee say, "Why is that camera filming me?"
Yeah. It's almost like they get filmed, and it's like they can say, "Look, go on camera, don't pixelate your face, and we'll knock you down a couple misdemeanors."
Yeah, and it's like, listen, if I'm like I've seen the other day, some guy gets arrested, and he's got like a transsexual in his truck, and it looks dead like a dude, like you can tell it's a dude, and he's got crack, and like he's on like a business trip, and I'm like, I find it hard to believe this guy would want to be videotaped doing this, like. I don't know, but
even used to be like the old ones where the Chris Hansen would show up and sit down like in the seat, and I'm saying to myself, like, how would these people allow themselves to be on TV?
Well,
it had to be like if they went on the show, it was part of their sentencing, and maybe they got something a little bit less. Because there's no way in hell if you got caught doing anything nonsense, they're like, hey, do you mind us putting you out there?
No, but the thing about To Catch a Predator, Donnie, the cameras weren't made aware to you until he tells you about it. So like,
and they all still sat the hell down.
Well, no, because they were hidden cameras. They didn't know till the end. When they came into the house, they had no idea they were being filmed. They were hidden cameras. They then Chris Hansen talked to them, and then he would say, "I'm Chris Hansen," and yeah, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And yeah, but yeah, I always wondered that. I just seen it on, and I'm like, do you guys ever live bet? Not really, marginally, a little bit. It's hard to live bet like if you're not in Vegas or.
I'll tell you, live betting. It's there for a reason, and sometimes I like to hedge wagers a majority of the time because I just like to take plus money. But most of the time, it's the same thing with gambling. It's the same thing putting up premium plays or when you really like a play. You want to use it in spurts because it can be addictive there, and you can get in and get out, and next thing you know, you're losing money when you say, "Damn it! If I just stayed with my bet, I would have won a lot more money." So yes, I use it in certain instances. I like the live bet. Let's just say if you took like a parlay or something like that, and you won the first game, but you didn't want to hedge out just yet. You thought the second leg was good, and you might be able to actually get a live wager where you can get a nice, decent-sized middle where no matter what happens, you're going to pull down a really nice profit. But I like to limit my live wagering because, again, books wouldn't offer it if it was the greatest tool in the world where you always win money. So just use that to your advantage in certain instances, but I wouldn't be firing all the way on that.
Yeah, you can really get into trouble doing that. I use a lot of locals, and the live betting's not the greatest anyway, so I kind of just stay old school and stick to what I'm doing. But I find that when I'm working on credit and betting on credit, I'm a little bit more frugal with my wagering. So, like if I'm on 5 dimes and I see a game that I like, I'll live bet it and have some fun with it. But like Donnie said, you can really get into trouble with it. Does anyone here agree with me that the Texas Rangers win the division? I disagree. I think Houston will win that division. I'm not sure that I trust Texas long-term pitching-wise. Darvish has been injured every year he's been in the league. Their pitching rotation is a walking hospital, really. And I just like Houston a lot more. But at 310, it's not bad. But I'm not a big long-term season future win total division kind of person. I'm looking for the World Series. Anything else random tonight, Donnie, that you want to talk about?
No, not random. I would like to get into these games tomorrow and see if we can crack some of these codes. Why don't we start off tomorrow in Baltimore, Maryland, from the Retriever Activity Center. University of Maryland, Baltimore County versus those Liberty. I believe it's the Flames. Is that their
yes.
Yeah, versus Liberty tomorrow going off, and that's going to be a nice little early appetizer. Right behind it, South Carolina, Florida. But let's get into some Liberty details with Baltimore County there. I know you followed them a lot throughout the season. Jarius Lyles leads the way, it looks like, just looking at some numbers there for Baltimore County. If we sit on the number right now, -3 to -3.5 across the board, with Baltimore County being the favorite in this one. Over-under opened at 143, bet up to about 146. Any thoughts that you would take a look at maybe leaning any certain way in this one?
Yeah, this is really a clash in styles. If for anyone doesn't know much about these teams, Liberty is a team a lot like a St. Peter's that really has limited offensive capabilities, but a very good defensive team. They're a team that really just kind of wants to slow the pace. They don't want to get the score up past 60. And, lately they've been fantastic on the defensive end, giving up just 57.2 points a game. And they have a kid that, he's really their only scorer in Ryan Kemwright. He's a kid that can shoot the basketball, a good player. But at home, I would look to back UMBC probably in this game. I think they're the team that's going to be able to run their tempo. Obviously, being at home, very good offensive team. Don't really play a lot of defense. They're one of those teams that loves to get up and run. They're a good foul shooting team. They're a good three-point shooting team. They're just a better offense. Late in these tournaments, I really look to the better offense. I look towards the home team. This Liberty team can be hard to watch at times. Don't know if I will play in this game, but I'll look to the Retrievers in this game. Jarius Lyles is a really good player. So I'll look to the America East side here in Maryland, Baltimore County.
Yeah, let's get right into it next. 2:20 Eastern Standard Time tomorrow, as I didn't have any wagers today premium. I didn't think there was too much value to my end, even though, looking at leaning Gonzaga and, taking the points in most instances, I just decided to abstain. I probably would end up going 1-1 on the card today, but I love a certain side in South Carolina and Florida tomorrow. Looks like the line opened up at Chris, maybe unofficial, like a soft opening at -4.5. but I haven't seen anything really out there besides the -3s and the -3.5s where those sit out. I'll abstain from this one, big man. Any thoughts on even maybe a total at 134.5, being as this is the last Elite Elite Eight game there up in the Garden to go to the Final Four?
I'm going to probably stay away from giving opinions on this game. I actually like this side as well.
Okay.
So I'm going to avoid as well. But I will say, yes, I definitely think there's an advantage in this game, and I'll leave that to the people that pay me.
Yeah, you got it. Well, let's skip right down because we got two more good games on your board, and I really want to get in depth in that Kentucky-North Carolina game. We'll break that game down completely there. Let's go to the Mastodons, big man, a team that we've profited on quite a bit, whether it be a side or a total. IPFW playing Texas A&M Corpus Christi. Line opens up short for IPFW -1. The total looks like it opened at 161, bet up a little bit to 161.5, 162, depending on you're looking there on SBRodds.com. Any thoughts on this game, big man? I'm a big backer of IPFW. I just like the way they play. I like the way they have the inside-outside game. But it looks like it's going to be a tough one. We've seen Texas A&M Corpus Christi play very well at home. Any thoughts on this one for everybody?
Yeah, I'll actually give this free out. I really, really, really like Corpus Christi in this matchup. I'm not a fan of IPFW on the road. Not really sure why they're a favorite in this game. They've been wretched on the road all year. Defensively, they're absolutely terrible. And they're just a team that looks to outscore someone. And listen, I mean, this Corpus Christi team I've talked about, Rashawn Thomas and Ehab Amin are really good. They're at home in this game. They've only lost one time at home all year, and that was to New Orleans, who ended up going to the tournament. They're a great defensive team. They hit their foul shots. They're a good three-point defensive team, which you have to be against IPFW. I actually think Corpus Christi wins fairly easily in this game. I'm going to be heavily interested in this game. I really like the Islanders in this game.
Yeah, as we both know, IPFW and defending the three-point line doesn't really go in the same sentence. So that's going to be one to certainly watch out for. Let's take a look now.
Donnie, they're a terrible defensive team. Terrible.
We've watched it go back and forth. I mean, there is literally, if you have a viable point guard or a viable guard that can drive into the lane, it's just I would like to say a white kid's dream to sit at the three-point line and just bomb away on this team. Should be interesting to watch, but I know we have been fans of both of these teams throughout the season.
Yeah, I don't think Florida's offense's half court is terrible, Ronnie, at all. I don't know what you're talking about there. If anyone's terrible, it's South Carolina. I mean,
that's going to be. I mean, who's going to play over their head in that one? I know I have a nice side in that game, so I'm not to get too excited talking about that. Let's go to the game of the day, maybe even the game of the weekend, the way it's going to shape up. 5:05 Eastern Standard Time, heading down to Memphis, Kentucky, North Carolina. Looking at the early line odds, Carolina opened up at a -2.5 favorite, currently sitting at -2.5 in most books there, 158.5, which was bet up to 159. Take that game out of the equation they played early in the season where, it was just a wide open game. It's going to be a little bit tougher to score. As you've seen in both the tournament games even today, high scoring first halves, but when the game really matters, both those teams clamped down today, only scored in the mid-50s in the second half. I look for more of the same here. Don't get me wrong. Both of these teams have supreme talent in this one, but they also can lock in on defense. And when the going gets tough, that ball is going to be walked up the court as opposed to pushing it. Early thoughts. I mean, we're going to go back and forth in this one, Big N. Early thoughts when you saw that line, North Carolina opening up as 2.5. Did it give you any certain direction, or maybe scratch your head, or didn't think it was right, or think it was right on?
Yeah, to be honest, I really have no opinion on the side. I mean, I could see it going either way. I would probably look over the total. I think this is one game that will be pretty high scoring. A lot of these games haven't really been. We really haven't seen over the last, let's say, 2 or 3 days, we really haven't seen any games in the 160s even. I know Kentucky last night just scraped it, but I don't think we see a ton of defense in this game. The one problem I do have with the over is Kentucky's played a lot better on the defensive end lately.
Yeah.
I would lean Kentucky here just because I really like what they've done on the defensive end lately. I think the guards are really going to be the difference here. I'm not in love with UNC's guards. Obviously, we know they can rebound. They have great bigs, but Kentucky's definitely got bigs of their own. I think Willis is a nice player on the wing for them as well. I'll be honest, Donnie. I think it's Kentucky and Gonzaga in the final. and who wins from there.
I mean, yeah, just looking at it, I mean, I like to, they're going to be getting 2.5 points in this one. What an interesting matchup, though. If you're just going to take guard play into the equation, you got Malik Monk, De'Aaron Fox on one side. A little bit different matchup than they obviously had versus UCLA with a little bit bigger Lonzo Ball and a shooting guard that's not going to really get to the lane so much in Alford. Now you're going to have him going up against Nate Britt and Joel Berry. Joel Berry's still a little bit banged up on that ankle, but if you're asking me which backcourt do I want, it's Kentucky clear as day. If the refs just let them play, which they did let the guards play in the UCLA game, Malik Monk and De'Aaron Fox, if they're on, and they don't have to be, like De'Aaron Fox scores 39 points and just dominates the game. UNC is going to play, obviously, better defense than UCLA does. But just as an overall tandem, the one interesting thing that not a lot of people had a lot of, vocal points on, if you watch the last game with Kentucky, Bam Adebayo, I don't think he scored or maybe scored 2 points in UCLA, and they ran away with that game. He's going to have a much tougher matchup here with Kennedy Meeks, but as long as they feed him down low, I think Kentucky has the advantage here. It's hard to step in front of North Carolina like it was stepping in front of Kansas, but it does happen. If you're asking me again, in Memphis, Kentucky's going to have a big fan base. I know UNC does travel. The fans travel well there, but I just think UNC getting Kentucky at a plus rate, if you're looking at 2.5, I don't know if it's maybe would bump to 3. I would lean more as it being at 3. I think it's going to end up more around that 2 range as some Kentucky money is going to probably come in. 51% of the tickets, Jeff, are on North Carolina, so not a huge swing in this one. But get this, 71% of the money is currently backing Kentucky, which is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of why the over to me looks good. I think UNC will have a lot of easy opportunities around the rim. You mentioned, Adebayo kind of, he didn't play particularly well. I don't think he's going to offer too much in the way of resistance. And the guard for Kentucky should really have a field day, I would think. Neither team's particularly strong defensively. I would, if I had to play this game, I'd go over. I haven't looked into it a ton. But a couple other things here, Donnie. South Carolina sure looked horrible against Duke. Wow, you picked a one game they actually played super well in, and they played in one half. Stop drinking the Kool-Aid.
Wait a second. South Carolina looked horrible against Duke, did he say?
South Carolina sure looked horrible. He's being sarcastic.
Oh, I was
trying to be funny here.
By
the way, how about the first half? They looked terrible. They got every call.
Terrible.
They got every call in the second half. Stop drinking the Kool-Aid. You clearly have an agenda. You clearly like South Carolina. You're a fan. I can read through the lines. I've been doing this a long time. I've been dealing with people in chat boxes for a long time. Allen was nearly 50% of Florida's offense. You do know he shot 3 for 21 coming into that game in the tournament, right? So where was he the rest of the games? Where was he the rest of the games that they won? Don't bring that to me because I'm going to shut you down. Just tell me, Jeff, I like South Carolina. And I'll say, you know what, Ronnie, you're right. But don't come on here with they looked hard. I mean, come on. They had a great half. They shot the lights out. They got every call.
They have been playing. I mean, South Carolina, do got to give them credit the way they've been closing down the stretch and playing. Florida, it's going to be an interesting matchup. And again, I don't want to divulge, either way I'm on there. I mean, I've been a big fan. I've had South Carolina in multiple games this year, both winning and losing. One of the worst games that I watched them play, which I had a total on, which was an over, which was Vanderbilt in South Carolina. It was almost like watching paint dry in that one. 1 million fouls in that game. Thornwell was the only one going well for South Carolina at that point. But it seems like they've gotten a couple extra options, a couple more scoring options since then. So it's going to be an interesting game. And Florida, I know they lost the center a while back, but they certainly have corrected themselves in that one. So looking forward for an interesting one in the Garden. But, even though I don't have a wager on that Kentucky-Carolina game, that's a lot of what I'm focused at tomorrow, man.
If Florida won that many games, why were they an 8 seed? You're really going to talk to me about seeding? Come on, dude. I mean, really. The committee's a fucking joke. That's why. Come on, man. The SEC was down. That's why they weren't an 8 seed.
Yeah.
They weren't an 8 seed. I think we can all agree with that. Come on, man. Don't talk to me about seeding. What the hell? Who cares about seeding?
Minnesota was a 5 seed, big man. What do you think about that?
Right. How'd that work out for you?
Yeah.
Arizona was a 2 seed. How'd that work out for you? Yeah. Don't talk to me about seeding. That doesn't mean anything. What was your explanation for Baylor game? Baylor was a fraud all year. We've said that. We made that clear. I wouldn't say that.
Baylor was awful. That game was awful to begin with, but Baylor was just extra awful. Baylor's lucky they even advanced in the tournament.
Yeah, exactly. They played New Mexico State. Who did they even play in the second round? I don't even remember.
I think you'll get their
That's how
tail of the
limited
stretch down there.
That's how limited I've looked into Baylor. I mean, who'd they even play?
The last game was the mighty power of the Pac-12, USC, which they scraped.
Right. Who scraped by SMU suddenly.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Just we get you don't like Florida. That's fine.
Baylor.
Definitely are a Gamecock fan. Definitely. But
from Columbia.
That's going to be it, Donnie. Has Florida beaten one top 25 team in the last 2 months? Yeah, they beat Wisconsin last night, actually. Come on, man. I could go all night, bro.
Ronnie loves himself some Gamecocks down there. Little Alshon
They also beat Virginia, by the way. They also beat Virginia. They had them to 39 points. You must not have seen that game either.
Oh, good matchup team. Matthew out there, Dylan out there, liking this stuff, big man. Look, when the crowd comes at you, big man, you got to step up and post up on the little.
Who cares about rankings, Ronnie? Stop. Who cares? Who cares about rankings?
Ronnie likes Virginia as well.
I mean, really? Is this guy serious? Oh, by the way, for you, the ranking king, South Carolina wasn't ranked at the end of the season either. So, Stop with that. Donnie, we're going to go. I did see one show that I just wanted to point out on TV. I saw this show last night, and I didn't see it. I haven't watched it yet, but it's basically they get these toddlers and like young kids, and they put them up against Steve Harvey and ask them questions. And you watch these kids just embarrass Steve Harvey.
Is that where you got the comment earlier today where you wanted to go through Africa, name all the countries in a minute when they did it?
Because I think I could actually do that if you put me to the test. And I'm thinking we should try that. Huh?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to set up a game show. One of these nights next week, since there's not gonna be,
let's do a geography.
Yeah, exactly. No full-time baseball yet. College basketball winding down when we have 5 days literally at night to cap the Final Four. So we're gonna have some interesting shows next week. That's for sure. We'll do some trivia with the big man.
Because I have a feeling that I would totally and
we're gonna make sure we do South Carolina trivia with you as well, big man, next week.
Well, here's what I just wanted to say. I'm willing to come up with like an over/under in a minute about how many African countries I can name, and I'm willing to bet that I can get the over. Seriously.
No, we'll definitely try. Well, folks, tonight time has run loose there. Late night on campus. I was your host tonight, obviously Donnie Rightside, with my man at Jeff Nadu on Twitter. And he is the big man on campus. Sponsored tonight, of course, by uwager.eu. Check out sbrodds.com for all your odds needs there. And again, looking at the board tomorrow, -3.5 UMBC, Florida -3, IPFW sitting at -1, and Kentucky getting 2.5, all courtesy of sbrodds.com. Folks, have a great night tonight. And again, big day tomorrow. Big man, end the show. What do you got to say to the people?
They're setting the number at 6. Are you kidding me? I'll do 6 in 3 seconds.
6 what? What is 6?
Countries in Africa. Are you kidding?
Look, next week, it's not going to be a late night on campus. It's going to be quiz big man on campus.
Algeria, Angola, Botswana, Benin, Burundi, Cameroon, Congo, Chad, Ivory Coast, Africa Republic, Lesotho, Suriname.
He's reading right off
Somalia, Sudan, Tanzania, Togo, Morocco, Mauritania, Mali, Mozambique, Madagascar. How am I reading? Come on, dude.
You can see his eyes going to the left looking at that little cell phone over there.
I'll have Ryan here. He'll prove that I'm not.
Oh, my goodness.
Burkina Faso, Senegal, Ethiopia, Somalia, Madagascar. Come on, dude. I'm the man with this. You can't fuck with me in geography. We'll be back next week. I got World Cup qualifiers. Didn't do that good today. 1 and 2 on those. Still have a profit on the week. I'm going to be back tomorrow with some more. Thanks for joining us. Really had some fun tonight. Like arguing with everybody, having fun. We're back Monday, same time. We'll actually be at 10 o'clock, not 11. 10 o'clock. Thanks for staying up, Donnie. You're the man.
Let's do it. Take care, folks.